you will learn quite a few things, or at least you will see where you need to improve, what you need to know. In my opinion, field service is so powerful. It has so many features. It's easy to get lost there, okay? But it's a very good thing. Why is it a good thing? I think people who are a little bit scared of software development can probably have a very interesting career in field service without writing a single line of code. I think it's more relevant than any other applications, right? Because there's so many things you can manage out of the box. There's so many parameters. There's so many criterias. It could be a career in itself. Now, I've never seen field service done without software integration with other systems like ERPs. So you'll have a different specialist doing it. So let's just take a look at Dynamics market. This comes from recruiting a partner called Nigel Frank. Every year they compile statistics for Dynamics platform, and there are a few interesting things we see here, right? How long you have been at work, right? So you have about 15%, 16% been from 1 to 5 years, and 6 to 10 years by 20%. So 35% been working less than 10 years. So this is very interesting. Now, even more interesting, how long you've been working with Microsoft Dynamics. Less than a year, we have 5%, and 1 to 3 years, you have 24%. So you're looking at almost 30%, like 1 in 3 are juniors. So as you can see, the market is very friendly for new professionals. So if you decide to adopt this as your new career, I think it's the most interesting career. It's very recession-proof, and especially with the current situation with the coronavirus, allows you to work from home and help your family and to help your community by building applications that can optimize business processes. I think if you choose this career, you will not regret it. If you look at the other statistics, experience with other Microsoft products, you have 59% who have experience with Office 365, which is a given. The interesting one is a SQL Server, 54%. I personally find it not surprising because, in my opinion, somebody who understands databases can very easily pick up on business applications, right? Because business application is just an abstraction layer over the database. If you look at Power BI, extremely important, and for field service, very, very important, because there's even for the small companies, you have a lot of metrics that you need to master. But if you do field service implementation in a large company, Power BI or SQL Server will save your life, okay? Because there are so many things, there's so much data, there's so many things going on that being comfortable with the data is important. Microsoft Azure, 30%. For field service, I think it's going to be even more important because the different integration, the different feature of Azure would be critical for this project as well. So this is for that. Now let's quickly take a look at the salary statistics for Canada and the United States. By the way, if you look at the career statistics at Nigel Frank, you have it for your respective countries. I'm from Montreal, so I used Canada and United States for our friends and down south. So you can see you can arrive to that career in Dynamics using very different path, right? You can be technical knowledge driven, and if it's technical knowledge, you can, even as a junior, you can make a very respectable salary without. Okay, what do I have? Screen size is too small to view any text. Okay, there's not much I can do in a PowerPoint. Okay, I will increase the size when I do a real presentation. Sorry about that. So as a as a functional consultant, you will start with 84,000 in Canada, and functional consultant in the United States is $90,000 as a junior, right? As a functional consultant, normally you don't need how to program, so you can make a very decent living just configuring and providing solution. Alternatively, they are the junior position as a support, so they're in the low 60s. It's a great as well. If you have aptitude for sales, I strongly suggest to go as a pre-sales consultant. As a pre-sales consultant, you're looking at the low six figures to start, and this is very in demand. It's only going to be in a higher demand. So pre-sales consultant, very interesting job that pays very well. All right, so this is for the career. This is for career opportunities. If you want to know more, please let me know. I'll be able to share some insights that I didn't cover here. So let's go next. So what is Dynamics 365 for field service? So it's a model-driven app. It's an app built on top of common data service platform. So it's a layer on top of the database. So what do you use Dynamics 365 for, right? For field service. It has many aspects to it, right? It can prevent service call by detecting and resolving issues remotely through Internet of Things. It's not something we will cover in this session, but just be aware of what you can do. You can connect to Internet of Things. You can do remote monitoring, and if you have any alerts in your system, it can create a work order for you. It can get you 360-degree view of customer assets. Customer assets meaning assets that customers have that you have to provide support for, something your technicians will need to go and fix for. This is a little bit of a gray area because when it comes to customer assets and assets in general, you need to expect some synchronization between your ERP systems, right? So everything is done and the case-by-case basics. And obviously it can provide you a customer insights analytics. Another thing you can do when you have technicians, it allows you to schedule your resources intelligently. You can have your technicians, they can be located anywhere. They can have their own calendar that the hours they work, the hours they don't work. You can have their skill set. You can see their proficiency level across the different skill set. And for specific service call, you can assign a relevant technician, the perfect technician for the perfect call, okay? Obviously, you can assign more than just technicians. They can be equipped, etc. But this application is very powerful, and it takes a lot of time to wrap your hands around it. So let's just stick with the technicians for this particular presentation. Another thing you can do, you can ensure the first-time fix by having a 360-degree view of customer problem. You can give technicians all the information they need to be able to have the first call resolution, right? Because when you send a truck somewhere, when they have to perform some kind of activities on site, it's very expensive. So you really want to keep it to the first call resolution. So the question you might ask, what is the user adoption of Dynamics 365 for field service? And you see customers who use Dynamics 365 for field service. So you have very serious companies, very big players in the industry who use it and who successfully adopt the practices. So what do we have? Imported entities, okay? What's important for Dynamics 365 for field service? Accounts extremely important, but everything revolves around work orders, right? Work orders and scheduling, this is something we're going to be looking at a lot of details. So account represents a company, organization, a group of people, okay? Account is your business partner that you work with, right? This is when you create a work order, the work order is for a company, for an account you provide, for an account or company you provide the service to. Okay, what is the work order? The work order is the task or job that can be scheduled on assigned or assigned to someone, right? The work orders, as you can see on the left, they have different, the origins could be different. In our case, we will look at case, right? The most typical scenario is you have a call center that create a case for the scenario. So a technician on the phone cannot fix the problem. So the next step is to create a work order to send a field technician to go and perform the work order. But that's not the only way to do it, right? You can create a work order from a sales document, right? The reason why you would do it is, let's say you want to close the sales deal, but before you close it, you want to send somebody to assess the area, assess the equipment, assess something. So you would dispatch a technician, you would dispatch somebody to go and do the job. So just be aware that it doesn't necessarily need to be a case to do it. You can do it from sales order. Another way to do it is the agreement. Okay, agreement. It could be based on preventive maintenance. It could be pre-scheduled visits that you agree with the customer, and the work order is created, right? So once the work order is created, you capture all the information that you need for the work order. The next thing to do it is to schedule it. You see who are the technicians who are available to do the work. You look at their vacations. You look at your vacation. You see their availability. You see how far they can travel. You schedule the call. You dispatch the technician. Okay, the technician will provide the service. Now, how he's going to provide the service? How he's going to record his tasks? Well, he's going to have his mobile app. Okay, in order for your field service work properly, the technicians would need to have his mobile app. Then a manager would review the process, approve or deny. And then the next thing that's going to happen is you have invoicing and inventory adjustments, okay? And invoicing is, let's say, there's certain things that are out of warranty or extra parts that need to be brought to the customer. You look at all this information and you subsequently invoice the customer. Obviously, when the technician does some kind of a repair, you take inventory out of your warehouse, so you have to readjust the inventory level. Now, this is where we have a gray area. Okay, field service allows you to do it inside the field service, right? But normally, invoicing happens inside the ERP system as well, right? So there has to be it's case-by-case base, and you have to work with your accounting department to agree on the process of how it needs to happen. Same thing goes for the inventory adjustment, okay? Field service does provide you an inventory module, but it's a very rudimentary, okay? It will give you an idea what's available, and you should not treat it as the full-fledged inventory system, right? If you're looking for the full-fledged inventory system, you probably should look at the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So this is a little bit of outside of the scope of our discussion, but just be aware, okay? Just be aware of that. So Let's look at the process a little bit more in details. And then once we go over the theory, because the problem with the field service, there are so many things that we need to go look at the theory first, and then we'll do a demo of how this actually works in the real life. So the work order creation starts. What happens? The new work order is created. You assign incidents, product and services. Okay. Who performs this? Case. If you look at our situation, cases by customer support. Usually, it's on the phone. Call center creates a work order when the call center cannot do anything anymore. They exhausted all the options, and they need to send a field technician. So you create a work order, and the work order status becomes open unscheduled, right? And the booking status, it's obviously non-existent. So what's going to be the next step? The next step is going to be scheduling the work order, okay? So the work order schedule is created, resources are assigned, and a date time is specified. So ideally what should happen when the work order creation, a call center agent will call the customer and say, hey, what is the time? What is the ideal time for us to visit you? Okay, you can specify what time the customer is available and what's the preferred time. Okay, also in the work order, you can even specify who is the preferred technician to go on site, right? Because let's say customer has a special preferences for one of your field techs, you can also specify it. So the scheduling, it's usually performed by dispatcher. Okay, here you have field agent, dispatcher with help. Normally, in my life, it was always the dispatcher who would do it. Sometimes it would be a call center agent as well. It would happen. Now, the work order status will become open scheduled, and the booking status is going to be scheduled. Now, the dispatch. The field agent is notified of the work order. Optionally can review or agree. From his from the mobile app, he will be able to see what's going on, and the status of the work order becomes to open schedule, and the booking status become scheduled, custom, or any other custom status that the field service technician will put it inside the mobile app. Okay, so the service. So the work order is carried out. Information is entered in the mobile app. So technician, the field tech has the full flexibility to say which tasks have been completed, what's the percentage status for this, and all this work is done by the field agent in the field, often in at the customer location. And the work order status can go to in progress to completed once the status is completed. The booking status could be traveling or in progress completed. After this, all the work the supervisor is being reviewed by the management, and you could potentially send the technicians again or do any kind of adjustment to it. You can send invoice and do inventory adjustments. All right. Okay, so this is we'll look at briefly. The work order creation, it has different statuses. So on schedule, schedule, in progress completed, canceled. All right. So now let's take a look how the system actually works. Let's go to the most interesting part to see the actual system. Okay, can anybody tell me, is this resolution better? Because I tried to increase the resolution a bit.
Looks fine here.
Okay, perfect. Okay, looks good. Okay, so just like any Dynamics application, you have your field service dashboards. You can see what are the work orders, what are the work orders for fiscal period, incident types by months, etc. I can read the text. Okay, perfect. So let's look at the main incident. the main work order. So let's look at the completed work order and the parts associated with it. Okay, so you have your work order number that's automatically assigned. You have a service account and a billing account, okay? Because your service account and the billing account could be different from each other, right? The place where you service and the place is billed, it's could be different. Those are the statuses that you have to monitor during your during the progression of the service call. You can set step statuses to this. You can set the work order type, which, well, in this case, it's diagnostic and repair. You have the price list for product and services if you need to bill for it. You can have your work hour templates, like what are the hours for which you work, and the work order summary. You can put a text that the field techs will see. You can set a taxes to all of it, right? You can set it to be taxable or not taxable. And you have the incident type, okay? And the incident type we're going to see in a moment. What is it? And you have the total estimated for all the work that's been performed. Now, if you go to settings, very important here, the work location. It can be on-site, facility, or location agnostics. It's possible that you would need to do the work remotely, but let's just look at the case where the work needs to be performed on-site. Okay, you have the currency for the call, the instructions that the field tech will see. Ask them to knock on the door, very hard. The time you promise to the customer, the date window start, and the time window start. Okay, when the customer prefers to have a technician's visit. For the call, you can specify the products that's going to be used for this call. Okay, you can specify the services that need to be performed during the services that need to be performed during the call, and the service tasks. You need to configure the part to replace, review procedure, perform repair, test and validate. You have the estimated duration complete, etc. Now, this is overwhelming, okay? And the fact is, it's pretty rare that you would do the work order from scratch, right? What you're going to do, you would actually create the incident types. What are the incident types? You take the work orders, right? And you break, because at the end of the day, the work orders will, they would look, you can break them logically in the many different steps, right? Let's say you have a luxury car dealership, right? And you need to send the field technicians to perform oil changes on the Bentleys that you sell, right? You're always going to have the same parts that technicians would need, right? They will perform the same services. The prices will be more or less the same. The task will be more or less the same, right? So let's say you have the luxury car dealership and you need to change tires, like in Canada for the winter. You're always going to have your tires, right? You're always going to have the same tools that technician would need to bring. And to change tires, it usually take more or less the same time. So to make our life easier, the field service has incident types. And incident types, this is where you can determine in advance what work needs to be done. So for example, you have replace core part, right? This is the built-in with the demo data that they have. The details is the work type order is install and replace. It takes about 2.5 hours. You copy the incident item to the agreement. You take this product, you perform this services. This is going to be the service tasks. characteristics, okay? This is the characteristics. Those are the skills that your field service technicians must have to do the call, okay? So I put C# because I like C#, but it could be anything. You define them yourself. So you can define different skills. You can type different skills, and you can set the proficiency level as well on it, right? And let's go back. Okay. Just bear with me. So what happens when you create a new work order? You choose a service account. The status is going to be open and schedule. This one is, hold on a second. Order type, it's going to be shared base, products and services. We'll choose the incident type. It's going to replace core parts. We'll do save. Okay, hold on a second. It was. Okay, just give me a second. It might not take effect immediately. Just give me. You see, based on the incident type that we have, it populated everything we needed for technician to do the job, right? So when you have a call center agent creating the call, they don't need to assign all those details that could be extremely time consuming to add here, right? So you look right now, it's nothing is complete. The service haven't been performed, etc. Now it's unscheduled. Now what we need to do, we need to book it, right? We would like to perform the service preferably today from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Save. Okay, now we have it. Let's take a look at summary. Now look at bookings. Let's look at bookings. Okay, let's just find. I'm gonna try to find myself here. Search. Sorry, something went a little bit wrong. Bear with me. Sources. So I just want to put myself field service. Okay. So here you have the list of bookable resources. Okay, people that you can, people who actually can go and work on your calls. From a bookable resources, you look at the field service tab. Here you specify. You can specify the hourly rate. If they need the approval for time of request, the warehouse, the logical warehouse that they take inventory from, and here you put their proficiency. You put their characteristic and what they proficient at, right? Also, you can take a look at the schedule. You can specify if the location agnostic or if they need to travel from their location. You can show the work hours. So here you would see all the work hours that are available for the technician here. In this monthly view. You have the full schedule when the technician is available to go on a call or not. So, but just bear with me. I'm not sure why I cannot see myself. I cannot book it to myself. Should be fine. Service, work orders. That's scheduled. We have service tasks here, services, products. Because normally I should be able to see myself here. So if I remove all the filters, I should be able to see because I want to assign it to myself. What's the date? Search. So this is the user. Advanced. Okay, ignore proposed. Let's say Igor. Okay, that's strange. I'm not sure why it's happening. Okay, let's go to the previous ticket that I completed yesterday. So this one was assigned. When we go to, let's look at unscheduled. There was a booking created, discard changes. There was the booking created. There was a booking created that assigned to myself where the status was completed. If we just put it to in progress. And this is how I would see it inside the app. let's log into the app. You can download and install it in the. You can download and install the app on your computer to simulate what the field technicians would actually see. So if you look at the work orders, fresh. Okay, so the technician on his mobile application, he would see this work order, right? That's in progress. Based on this work order, right? You can have you can navigate to the address if you have it. It's going to be better not from the laptop, but from it's better not from the laptop, but from a mobile device. The question is, yes, it comes from Resco. And when you look at the work order assigned to you, you have different step statuses. And if you scroll down, you have the service tasks, right? The service tasks that you have here: confirm parts to replace, perform repair, review procedure, etc., and the product, right? Those are the same products that we've specified on our field service, if you remember here, right? If we go to the work order, okay, because it's this one right now. We have our service tasks with the comment from the technician, right? So let's look at the mobile app. Nice. So a technician can actually open each task, perform repair, can set the status of it, because right now it's 100%, but let's say he made a mistake and it's 75. And you can actually take a picture and put note to this. Estimated duration is 1 hour, but let's say you stuck and it doesn't work. You can put 1 hour and 30 minutes. So you allow field tech the complete flexibility on it, right? So you can add a note. Okay, let's say it does not work. And you can actually put a signature on it as well. You can say save, and you can sync with save, and you can sync with the work order. So the mobile application, it actually can work offline and subsequently synchronize. So if we refresh our statuses here, refresh. We will see that it was 100%. Now they're in the 75%. And you can actually have the signature for, if you look, the signature can be attached to the phone call, to the work order. So this way, technician can complete the work order. And after everything is complete, the work order can be reviewed and subsequently closed. And other things that are important here. If we look I find its inventory, right? The first thing that we need to do when we create it, we would need to set up active inventory account, because what happens when the technicians, when they go on their calls, they need to bring certain certain inventory with them, right? So you have you have your main warehouse when you keep the stocks, right? And from this main warehouse, you would need to transfer the stocks to the technicians, right? To make sure that you know what kind of stock they have on their truck at any given moment, right? So let's say you look at the main warehouse, and you can do adjustments, right? You create a new adjustment. You put create a new adjustment from warehouse, main warehouse. You can do save. Put product. Your inventory adjustment. The armband unit is going to be, let's say, the basic unit. Default unit. Units. Candidate 2. So you would add. You would add one inventory item inside the warehouse. What you can also do, you can return inventory to different warehouses, and if so product inventory. You see, okay, sorry. Here you see which product you have in which inventory. You have the quantity available, quantity on hand, and quantity allocated to the orders, right? So this is something you need to be aware of. If you need to purchase inventory from the supplier to give it to your technicians or refill, you can create a purchase order. So you can create a purchase order, and this will replenish your stock. But this is also something that needs to be coordinated with your accounting team. Other than that, what else is here? Is a sales service. Okay. One other thing is. All right. I think I went over it. Unfortunately, it did not go as planned because I could not assign to myself. So at this point, since we don't have much time, I think we're going to open the session for the questions and answers. Do we have any questions about it? Should we go one by one? Is it correct, which implies that every license is not true? Okay, let's see what questions we have. Jay, I'm not sure I understand your question. Is that correct? Which implies that every license has to be part of Active Directory, not true all the time. For example, volunteers working.
Hi, Igor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think I asked my question, quite above in the chat. And it's regarding the, the licenses, especially when you're working with the field service, every single person who has to have the access to the mobile app, it's supposed to be user in the organization, right?
Yes.
Which then implies that the person has the account with the Azure Active Directory, right? The scenario that usually I got from 2-3 customers is mainly around, let's suppose you have volunteers or you have contractors who are working with the organization, right? And
Yes.
they are not part of your organization. They are kind of engaged with you, right? So there's a partnership in between. So in that case, businesses are not comfortable giving them paying licenses for them, first of all. And the second thing is like, making them part of the Active Directory directly, because that actually links to pretty much all the authentication around Microsoft products, right? So
that's correct. That's correct.
so
Yes.
in that scenario, like, I know portals, CRM portals could be one of the options, but other than that, like, I know Resco actually built this field service app, and that comes out of the, like, the licenses cover, the field service license covered this mobile app as well. But are there any alternative solutions which allows you to, like, have or contact authentication or any account authentication as for the mobile interface, right? Especially when people are actually on the field. This app itself is really great, but obviously it requires you to have, like, user licenses, and not all the scenarios actually true for the users actually. So that's my question.
Okay. Once I had to go something around it and just build React applications
Okay, makes sense.
connected, just pretty much connected, and just a conversation I had with somebody. As long as you can write whatever the outcome of the app in the Azure SQL Server, you can use Flow or Logic App to write inside the field service.
Okay. All right.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing that comes to mind. We can take it offline and chat about it. But actually, right now, that's what I would use, because yes, the app is great, but in my experience, the technicians use only a subset of features.
Exactly.
Right?
That's true.
It's a small subset of features. So for me, if I had this case, I would probably write a custom app that's extremely simple. You just need to find a way to identify the technicians. I don't know if you want to keep it as contacts or maybe another entity, and
it could be.
And just link with that. I think it's a week's job, because at the end of the day, they need to be able to see your work orders, which is very easy to do with the C#. Set statuses, set work, and if you use incident type, they just read from the incident type. So 1 week you have a small mobile app working for them, or not even mobile app, right?
Yeah.
With the
Could
bootstrap.
be responsive mobile app. Yeah.
Yeah, responsive mobile app. You can do it. I strongly suggest I start looking at Blazor for things like this.
Okay.
From what I've seen in Blazor, given the fact that you use C#, like I'm allergic to JavaScript. It's personal. It's just personal preferences.
Well, I love it. So
you love JavaScript? Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's. We all different, right? Takes different colors to make the world.
Yeah.
So for me, I find you extremely quick. It's probably not perfect for when you have million technicians, but when you have a couple of hundred technicians, you can develop things extremely quickly with Blazor and Bootstrap.
Okay, Blazor. Blazor is more like, I'll look into that. Is it more like Office UI Fabric kind of thingy, or?
It's using WebAssembly to replace, well, they say they want to replace React and Angular. I don't think they're there yet, but for the things we talk about, it's more than enough.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's more than enough.
Cool. And would you recommend using, like, could be B2C as an authentication AD? Could be one of the possibilities to that. See, they're not customers, but I'm just thinking of, authentication where for your field workers.
Sure. Okay. Don't see a problem with that at all. Don't see a problem with this at all.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, all right. Do we have any other questions that we need to? Any other questions from the field? Okay. If there is no other questions, if you want to learn more about field service, unfortunately, it's my third presentation of the day, and the end did not go as planned. So if you want to learn about field service, I strongly suggest you go here. You go to Microsoft Learn. Okay, this is their portal, and frankly, it's amazing. Okay, just Google Microsoft Learn. Look for the product, and let's say you look at the field service, and my suggestion, look at the learning path. Okay, implementing field service. Okay, it's a little bit complex, as you can see. Just the scheduling, it takes you about 8 hours to it takes 8 hours to it takes about 8 hours to complete. And just implementing it takes about 4.5 hours. So it's a complex product. It's actually very good product, but you need to do a lot of configuration before it works properly, right? Like even right now, I made a small mistake and I could not assign it to myself. So things did not go as planned. It happened. So from Chris, I see field server is a monster with a ton of functionality. Yes, it is a monster, but it's a monster that you can domesticate. Okay. Do we have any more? Thank you. So if we don't have any more questions, thank you very much. I'll stay here for another 2 minutes. Let me know if anything. If not, looking forward to connect through any kind of social media channels. We'll be happy to take it offline and chat with every single one of you further. Thank you.
Thanks, Igor.